would like to start explaining that this document is it's the result of years of study and research that were initiated by my predecessor, and it's something unique in some sort, because never before the Holy See had produced a document that could summarize the teachings of the Catholic Church on sports ministry. And every time the bishops come to the ad limina visits in Rome, you know that every bishops conference has to come to Rome every 5 to 10 years to present to the Holy Father the situation of the Catholic Church in their countries. And they also take the opportunity to discuss different matters with the different dicasteries, different offices of the Vatican. We always take the opportunity to stimulate, to try to promote sports ministry as it is something very close, is really related to young ministry. And in my opinion, is one of the three arms that the church can use on the new evangelization, together with arts and music, to evangelize the new generations. So in my opinion, sports ministry has to be present in every youth pastoral program. Otherwise, there's something missing, in my opinion, and the experience has told us so. And so we decided to publish this document because we thought that it was important to give a global overview, a general overview of how the church has tried to dedicate herself to the people, also assisting them through the practice of sport since the early beginning. Through our days, there has been different positions and different perspectives, but we understand that nowadays the church cannot be silence in this topic. So as I was saying, I would like to make a brief presentation of the document, and before, I would like to give, for those who don't know about anything about the Vatican or the dicastery, I would like to make a brief presentation why I'm here talking about sport. And I would like to start quoting this verse of Saint Paul, when he says, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. And in my opinion, this is the explanation of why the church is interested on sports. And John Paul II saw this, had this prophetic vision about the importance of sport also in the church and in society, and he decided to create this office. So the document has 5 chapters, and in my opinion, the most important for pastoral agents is chapter number 3 and chapter number 5. Chapter number 3 talks about the values and virtues that sport can promote inside and outside the church. And chapter number 5, we try with very brief points to show where can sport could be developed to create a pastoral program in families, in universities and schools, inside sports, Catholic sports associations, but also at a national or a local level, in many different places. And I have to say that I had the honor to coordinate a group of 11 people from all over the world, and with a specific background on sports, that they helped the dicastery to review the draft, which is important also to say, because it's not that we have a solution and an answer for everything. Cardinal Farrell, during the Ad Limina visits, likes to say that he cannot give an answer to all the challenges and problems that the church has at local level, because we are not on the field. It's you, those who are on the field, and can tell us better what works locally than if we give an instruction, or if we give a direction at a global level that maybe can work for Australia, but can be unsuccessful in Africa or in South America. So the motives and the purpose of this document are very clear. First of all, to describe the relationship between sport and the experience of faith, to offer a Christian vision of the practice of sport, to call to mind the effort and sacrifice that an athlete must undergo to obtain a victory, or simply to arrive at a goal. As in this sphere of faith, we are similarly called to give the best of ourselves to reach holiness, to help amateur clubs, associations, and individual athletes to reflect upon Christian life and on the way to practice sport, and to reflect upon the state of sport today, to help episcopal conferences and dioceses in the development of a pastoral mission in sport. So as you can see, the document is primarily addressed to the Catholic Church and to all Catholics, but it's also available, and it was written on purpose so everyone, Christian or not, could agree with what it's been said in the document. Because, as I said, and it's something that I repeat many times during my work, is that sports is a unique tool for pre-evangelization, to meet people, to encounter, to allow them to have an encounter with God. I like to quote Pope John Paul II, saying that sport is a typical phenomenon of the modern era, as a sign of times capable of interpreting humanity's new needs and new expectation. And we thought it would be helpful to know how sport acquired its current shape, or what its main characteristics are. And it will be good to take note also of its various relations with the wider societies of which it is a part. And so, but to do that, we had to make, to create or to establish what is sport. And this is something that is already old, because sport is changing with societies. So we try to give a very generic definition of sport, who could fit with most of what in the Christian anthropology we consider about physical activity. So we say that sports are bodily motions of individual or collective agents who, in accordance with particular rules of the game, affect ludic performance, which on the condition of equal opportunity are compared to similar performance of others in a competition. So we first of all we say that is the concept of sport is associated with the human body in motion, and also is a ludic activity. It's something that Pope Francis repeat many times when he meets with sport institutions and sport clubs, that sport has to remain a ludic activity, not to lose the amateur sense of sport. And sport is also normally subjected to certain rules and has a competitive character. And when sport is regulated by some rules for the game, then the equality of opportunities is warranted. So, we have a definition, but we know that sport is not only an activity on its own, but has also an exterior, has a significance for the human being. And that's what we try to explain on the second chapter of the document. Then on the third chapter of the document, as I said, in my opinion, is one of the most important of the document, is the significance of sport for the human being. And here we see a lot of, we try to condense a lot of virtues and human values that are related to faith and sport. For example, a unified view of the human being. John Paul II used to say that everything that contributes to the harmonious and complete development of the person, body and soul, is what calls the church to care about sport, because and to look at sport with joy. And so the church encourages what aims at educating, developing and strengthening the human body in order that it may offer a better service for the attainment of personal maturity, he said. And nowadays, many people believe that freedom is doing what one wants without any limits. It's something that we see in society normally. But then we can see also that they disagree when someone break the rules on a competition. Doping is generally refused in society. So there's a contradiction and also an opportunity for the Catholic Church to talk about this, about freedom, rules, creativity, and cooperation, because such a view decouples freedom and responsibility, and may even eliminate regard for the consequences of human acts. So sport reminds us that to be truly free is also to be responsible, and this is crucial. This is very important, and we can teach children, for example, a lot about Christian faith when we practice this. When we talk about the Ten Commandments, for example. In sport, the rules do not limit human creativity, but encourage it, because to achieve the objectives within the established rules, the athlete has to be creative. He must seek to surprise the competitor with a new or unexpected trick or strategy. And for this reason, creative athletes are highly valued. And also fair play, which is an increasing awareness of the need for fair play in sport. Athletes who honor fair play, they not only obey formal rules, but also observe justice with respect to their opponents, so that all competitors can freely engage in the game. And this includes not using hidden strategies such as doping or any other tricks to have an illicit advantage over our competitors. And also individualism and team effort. Nowadays we can see many manifestations of individualism, and sport is a school of teamwork that help us to overcome selfishness, which is something that can help us also a lot on Christian formation. In it, the individuality of each player is related to the team that works together toward achieving a common goal. And then, for example, sacrifice. Sacrifice is, we are in during Lent season. How to explain sacrifice to young people, to our Christian brothers and sisters? The logic of sport, said John Paul II, is also the logic of life. Without sacrifices, important results are not obtained, or even genuine satisfaction. The athletes, we can see that they must subject themselves to discipline and focus on the task at hand if they are to learn and acquire the necessary skills to achieve. And this often means that the person has to follow a regular and structured program, diets, exercises, to refuse of doing that things that are ethically good, to go out on a Friday night, for example, with friends, because they want to achieve a higher goal. So these encounters with sacrifice in sport can help athletes to form their characters in a particular way. And also they can develop virtues of courage and humility, perseverance, fortitude, many Christian virtues. So we could say that both the church and the real world of sport commonly use the term sacrifice in a very direct and specific way. I see that I'm finishing my time, so I'm going to try to be faster. So we can talk about joy. Joy is a gift, and that it's always grounded in love. And many people participate in sport merely to enjoy the sensation of bodily movement, the opportunity to socialize with others, to learn a new skill, or even just to feel the sense of belonging. So in this context, joy is the byproduct of doing something we love or enjoy. And then harmony and courage. I like to quote St. Thomas Aquinas, that he taught that courage represents the mean point between cowardice on the one hand and recklessness on the other. So we could say that courageous act is always related to morality and equality and respect. We talked about fair play before, but the respect for multiplicity and the diversity of human beings, with respect to sex, age, cultural backgrounds, or traditions, and different categories of performance. This is important. Must not lead to hidden ranks or hierarchy of classifications, or even to the archetype delimitation between different human groups. Sport is an activity that can and should promote the equality of human beings. Then solidarity. How many times we have seen charity events through sport. And Pope Francis has encouraged many athletes to do so. Put your talents at the service of an encounter between persons, of friendship, of inclusion. The culture of encounter that Pope Francis likes to say. Then also how sport reveals the quest for ultimate meaning, and how we can experience through sport beauty when we practice, for example, sports in the middle of nature, practicing skiing or mountaineering, hiking, and also we can see in sport an ultimate meaning from a Christian point of view. Because we can see that we were created for a happiness that is greater still than sport itself. Then on the fourth chapter, we talk about the challenges in the light of the gospel, and we mention four specific challenging developments, but we wanted to make it briefly, because it's not that the church is condemning sports. It's just that it's a challenge. It's a real risk that we are running nowadays if we allow that external agents could eliminate the identity of the sport itself. If we cancel the human values in sport, we are canceling the identity of the sport itself. So to have a shared experience of fair competition and joy can help foster the unity of the human family, for example, by playing on a team, or athletes recognize that most satisfying experiences happen when the players have a strong bond with one another and play well together. And we have a shared responsibility for good sport. Not only participants or athletes, but families of the athletes, coaches, assistants, doctors, managers, even the spectators. Everybody is responsible for good sport, and this is something important to underline, because when sports are considered only within an economic parameter, or for the sake of victory at any cost, one runs the risk of reducing athletes to mere merchandise for the increasing of profit. And as I said, we mentioned these four issues: the debasement of the body, doping, corruption, and the problem of hooligans, the spectators, also when they pressure on sports people, and because they really look forward for the success of that person, maybe because there are bitings in the middle of these situations or whatever. So we are all responsible, as I said. And last chapter is the church as a key protagonist, and is maybe the more pastoral chapter, the chapter more focused on the Catholic Church and what we can do. And we say that the church is at home in sport, because the church does not avoid the co-responsibility for development of sport and its fate, because the church active seeks to improve sport practices, systems, and procedures through collaborative partnership with sport organizations. And we while the church welcomes everyone, she also goes out into the world, like I said before, to leave our walls behind and go out in search of those who are distant, those who are on the outskirts of life, the peripheries that Pope Francis likes to say. And also sport is at home in the church, because since the origins of Christianity, sport has emerged as an effective metaphor of Christian life. And when sport is lived in a way that respects the dignity of the person, and is free from economic media or political exploitation, it can become a model for all areas of life. And we can introduce to young people cardinal virtues like fortitude, temperance, prudence, and justice, and many other virtues we mentioned before. Then some environments of sport pastoral ministry, as I said before, parents as first teachers. This is vital. If we don't teach human values and sport values inside our families, it's very difficult to achieve in teaching the new generations our faith and our common values in society. Also, schools and universities. It's an ideal place to promote the understanding of sport, aimed to education, inclusion, and human promotion. Amateur sports clubs and associations. What can I say about coaches and sport managers? That so many times they spend more time with our children than us as parents. Also, professional sport, also specialized sciences, life sciences, cultural or social sciences. They can give particular insights in sports, and in the way of how they can become a beneficial lifelong activity. Also, the new places of sport. We intentionally decided not to talk about electronic sports in the document because it's something that has to be developed yet, but we have to be there. Either we consider electronic sports as a sport or not, and this is something that maybe we can discuss later, but it's not a reason for the church for not being there. Also, to take care of sports pastoral workers, sport educators, coaches, referees, teachers, managers. They play a significant role in the attitude of players and athletes, and also family and parents, to not to focus the formation towards the athlete only, but also to take care of the family itself, of the environment that is around the athletes. And lastly, some fundamental elements for pastoral planning through sport, to rebuild an educational compact, to have a concrete impact. A project of pastoral care of sport must be a network project. We cannot go alone. Pope Francis said during the pandemic that nobody can survive alone. Either we go together or we won't survive. So this is very important in sport. I don't care if you have different visions or opinions. It's crucial that the bishops' conference, talking about Catholic Church, take a lead on coordinating sports ministry, and always at the service of the local and regional associations. So the bishop conference has the mission to lead the coordination, but always at the service of these associations, to know what they need, to know how can be more successful in the ground at the local level, and always, as we said before, to play as the basis of sport, that sport remain a game. Then, as I said, teamwork against individualism and sport for all. to reject a throwaway culture. This is something also that Pope Francis has repeated so many times, and that's why we did this international summit last year. Everyone gets to play, not just the best, with the advantages and the limitation that each has, indeed focusing on the disadvantages as Jesus did. And I stop here as I passed the time I was giving, and also I think I talked too much. So now I give you back the floor. Thank you very much.